Hi, Assalamualaikum. Greetings everyone. My name is Batrisha Husna.
Assalamualaikum and good day to everyone. My name is Ado Fariza binti Sazan.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Nurul Ifa binti Azmi.
My name is Nurina Dahlia.
Hi, my name is Rabiatul Najihah binti Mamarza.
Today I will present our quantitative study titled Public Perceptions of the Impact of Petrol Prices on Property Prices in Malaysia. Petrol prices play an important role in Malaysia because they affect transportation costs, production costs and the overall cost of living. When petrol prices increase or decrease, they can also influence the property market. Traditionally, property prices depends on factors such as location, demand and supply, infrastructure and economic growth. However, petrol prices fluctuates may also affect where people choose to live. For example, when petrol price increase, many people prefer to buy or rent house closer to their workplace to reduce travelling costs. Therefore, this study focus on understanding how the Malaysian public perceive the relationship between petrol price and property prices. So, the main purpose of this study is to understand the public's perceptions of how petrol price change influence property price in Malaysia. This research also aims to identify the level of public awareness about the economic impact of petrol price fluctuations on the property sector. In addition, we use a quantitative approach to collect opinions from many respondents so that we can identify common trends and patterns. Lastly, the findings can help property developers, investors, policy makers and future researchers better understanding consumer behaviour and make better decisions in the property market. Next, the background of this study is based on the increasing concern about the petrol price fluctuations in Malaysia. Petrol is essential for transportations and daily activities. As more people depend on private vehicle, change in petrol price directly affect household expenses. At the same time, property prices are usually influenced by location, accessibility, infrastructure and demand. Rising petrol price may encourage people to buy homes closer to workplace or public transport to reduce the travelling costs. The Malaysian government has also introduced full pricing policies and subsidies, making this topic more important. Therefore, studying public perception helps us understand whether Malaysians believe petrol price influence property price. So next is methodology. This study uses a quantitative research method because it allows us to collect numerical data from many respondents and analyze their opinion systematically. The questionnaire used a 5-point scale ranging from 1 strongly disagree to 5 strongly agree. A total 100 respondents participate in this study. The questionnaires will distribute through the Google Forms and the collected data was analyzed using descriptive statistics such as frequencies, percentage and mean values. The results are presented using the tables and charts. Next, I will explain the research design used in this study. This study adopted a quantitative research design because it allows us to collect numerical data from a large number of respondents and analyze their opinions using statistical methods. A structured questionnaire was used as the research instrument. The questionnaire consists of demographic questions and statements related to the impact of petrol price fluctuations on property price. We used a 5-point Likert scale ranging from 1 strongly disagree to 5 strongly agree. After collecting the responses, the data were analysed using descriptive statistics such as frequency percentage and mean. The findings were then presented in table, charts and graphs to make the result easier to understand. So, this study involved 100 valid respondents from Kampung Changkat Sodang Seri Iskandar. Most respondents were female with 66% while males made up 34%. The largest age group was 50 years and above, followed closely by respondents aged 18 to 25 years. In terms of occupation, the majority were in the private sector, followed by self-employed individuals, student and unemployed respondents. Most respondents reported have no monthly income and motorcycles were the most commonly used mode of transportations. Next is the sampling technique. This study used convenience sampling. Convenience sampling is a non-probability sampling method where respondents are selected based on their availability and willingness to participate in the survey. This method was chosen because it's practical, time-saving and cost-effective for collecting data within the available time and resources. A total of 100 respondents participate in this study. 50 respondents completed the questionnaire online through Google Forms, while another 50 respondents complete through face-to-face survey conducted by the researchers in Kampung Changkat Sodang Seri Iskandar. Using both online and face-to-face methods allows us to reach a wider range of respondents with different backgrounds and help us achieve the target sample size. Although convenience sampling does not give every individual an equal chance of being selected, it is suitable for this study because the main objective is to understand public perception regarding the impact of petrol price fluctuations on property prices in Malaysia. So, thank you everyone. That's all from me.
Good day everyone. I will present the findings for research team which focus on the demographic profile of our respondents. A total of 100 respondents participated in this survey. The largest age group were the 25 years and 50 years and above. 49% each, showing balanced participation from both younger and older adults. In terms of gender, 66% were female and 34% were male. For employment status, 37% were employed, followed by 30% unemployed, 22% students, and 11% self-employed. Regarding monthly income, 47% had no income, mainly because many respondents were students or unemployed. Among income earners, the majority earn between RM2001 and 4,000. Most respondents own a car or both a car and motorcycle, and 65% use their vehicles daily. Most spend RM100 or less on petrol each week and travel 30 kilometers or less per day. Overall, the respondents came from diverse backgrounds, with most relying on private vehicles for their daily transportation. Okay, next I will present the findings for Section B, which examines respondents' perceptions of how petrol prices affect residential property. Overall, respondents agreed that rising petrol prices have a significant impact on housing decisions. Most believe that higher petrol prices increase daily transportation costs, reduce housing affordability, and influence house prices. They also agreed that expensive fuel encourage people to choose homes closer to their workplace. In addition, respondents recognize that petrol prices affect the property market through the economy, influence daily travel, and impact new property development. Many also stated that they would carefully research property before buying and might postpone purchasing a house if petrol prices continue to rise. Overall, the results show that respondents are aware of the close relationship between petrol prices and the residential property market. So lastly, I will present the findings for Section C, which focus on respondents' opinions and future behavior. So most respondents agreed that rising petrol prices would influence their housing choice. They preferred houses with good public transport access and considered transportation costs when selecting a property. Respondents also agreed that higher living costs makes it more difficult to buy a house, and that increasing petrol prices affect property investment decisions and construction costs. Many stated that they would consider alternative transportation and prioritize value for money when purchasing a home. Overall, the findings shows that fuel price increases influence not only transportation habits but also residential property purchasing decisions. That is all from me, and I will pass to the next presenter.
Okay, now I will present part 4.0, which is data analysis and mean calculation. This study involved 100 respondents from Sangkat Sodang Buka. Based on the demographic analysis, most respondents were female, and the largest age group were 80 to 25 years old and 50 years and above. Most respondents own a car, use it daily, spend 100 ringgit or less petrol each week, and travel 30 kilometers or less per day. For Section D, the overall mean score was 4.37, indicating that respondents have a high level of awareness of how petrol price changes affect transportation costs, housing affordability, property values, and residential property purchasing decision. And lastly, for Section C, the overall mean score was 3.95, showing that respondents generally have positive perception towards the impact of petrol price changes on housing preferences and residential property purchasing behavior. Next, I will explain about part 4.1, findings of total mean for every questionnaire. Okay, based on the mean analysis, the highest mean score was 5.71 for question 2, which is showing that most respondents agree that increasing petrol prices reduce people's ability to afford housing. The lowest mean score was 2.82 for question 12, indicating that many respondents disagree that rising petrol prices will slow down the growth of residential property values. Overall, the findings show that respondents are generally aware that petrol prices change influence transportation costs, housing affordability, and residential property purchasing decisions. However, they have different opinions on whether petrol prices changes affect to long-term property values growth. Thank you.
Alright, now I'm going to present the advantage and disadvantage of our data collection method, which is using the online questionnaire. Okay, for this research, we use Google Form as our online questionnaire to collect responses from the public about the impact of petrol prices on property prices in Malaysia. So there are several advantages of using this online questionnaire. So the first advantage is cost effectiveness. Since the survey is conducted online, there is no need to spend money on printing the papers for the online questionnaire. So this makes the online survey very suitable for us students to research to do research project with a limited budget. So the second advantage is speed and efficiency. The respondent can answer the survey anytime and anywhere using their smartphone, tablets, or computers. And once they submit their response, the data is automatically collected and stored. So this makes the research process much faster. And then another advantage is easy data management. The responses can be exported directly into like spreadsheet or statistical software for analysis, and this could reduce manual errors and help researchers analyze the data more accurately and efficiently. Lastly, online questionnaire also provide greater privacy and convenience. So respondent can answer honestly without feeling pressured by an interviewer. So the survey link can also be shared easily through platforms such as WhatsApp, email, or any other social media, allowing researchers to reach more respondents from multiple different backgrounds. However, using online questionnaire also have some of its own disadvantage. And so the first disadvantage is that they depend entirely on internet access and digital devices. So people with poor internet connections or limited digital skills may not be able to participate, causing some groups to be underrepresented. And secondly, there is a risk of careless or inaccurate responses. Since researchers are not present while respondents answer the survey, some participants may rush through the question, or they also could give answers that do not truly reflect their opinions. And then another limitation is that the lack of direct interaction. So if respondents do not understand the question, they cannot immediately ask the researcher for any clarification. So this may affect the accuracy of the responses. And finally, researchers also have limited control over the survey environment. Respondents may answer while distracted or receive help from others. And some people may also choose not to respond at all, which can reduce the representativeness of the study. Now, I'm going to present for the discussion and recommendation. So, based on the findings, most respondents agreed that petrol price fluctuation affect transportation costs, housing affordability, and residential property purchasing decisions. So this shows that people understand petrol prices influence not only daily expenses, but also long-term financial planning when they want to buy a house. And one of the most important findings is that respondents also strongly agreed that higher petrol prices reduce people's ability to afford housing. So when fuel costs increase, households have less money available for rent, mortgage payment, or savings. Therefore, the government should continue supporting affordable housing program and provide more assistance for first-time home buyers. And the study also found that rising petrol prices influence where people choose to live. So many respondents prefer houses closer to their workplace, school, or public transportation because this helps reduce daily travelling costs. And based on this finding, property developers also should continue building housing projects in locations with good accessibility, while local authorities should improve on public transportation. And there is also another important finding. It is that respondents believe petrol prices are not the only factors affecting property values. Other factors such as location, infrastructure, market demand, economic condition, and government policies also play significant roles. So therefore, future research should include additional variables such as household income inflation, interest rate, employment opportunities, and housing policies. It is also recommended to collect data from different states and both urban and rural area and to obtain findings that better represent the whole Malaysian population. So in conclusion, this study shows that petrol price fluctuation mainly affect the property market indirectly through transportation costs, household expenses, and housing affordability rather than directly determining the property prices.
Finally, I will present a section A, conclusion and implications. In conclusion, the study successfully achieved its objective of examining public perceptions of how petrol price fluctuations affect a residential property price in Malaysia. Based on the finding, most respondents agree that change in petrol price can influence a transportation cost, housing affordability, and people decision when choosing a home. However, they also agree that petrol price are not the only factor affecting a property price. Other factors such as location, infrastructure, market demand, and the overall economic condition also play the important roles. The finding also show that when a petrol price increase, many people prefer to live closer to their workplace or in areas with a good public transportation. This show that accessibility has become an important factor in residential property decisions. The findings of the study are beneficial to several groups. For policymakers, the study highlight the importance of improving a public transportation and continuing affordable housing initiative. For property developers and urban planners, it suggests developing housing project in strategic location with a good accessibility and essential facilities. In addition, this study can serve as a useful reference for a future researcher who wish to further explore the relationship between the economic factors and the residential property market. Overall, it is hoped that the research will contribute to a better planning, informed decision making, and the development of a more sustainable residential property market in Malaysia. Thank you. That's all from me.